UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus Aliskerov is coming up next weekend. Today, guys, I have the complete betting guide for you. We're going to go through confident picks, underdog opportunities, fights that I don't think you should be betting on. We're going to talk about lock of the week, and then we're going to get into a fun part of the video, that being looking for some props and some fun, ridiculous parlays that we can make. We're going to get into all of it with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to, like I just said, guys, another complete betting guide. Let's get straight into it with some confident picks. Now, guys, it is important to note with these confident picks I can dive a lot deeper into these fights. I already have a video doing that. If you'd like me to talk about the fights for as long as I possibly can, I have a full card breakdown doing so. This is kind of going to be the sum up of that. And the first confident pick I have for you is Denis Tiuliulin. It's not so much about the matchup. It's not so much about Denis. I understand he's 11-9. I understand he has his issues, but I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but Cedric Dumas is probably one of the worst fighters in the UFC. That, and the fact that he's taking this on short notice, that's a no-brainer for me for Denis Tiuliulin. I can't wait to see what the odds come out to be, because I haven't checked what the odds are for Cedric Dumas yet, because last I checked it wasn't up yet. But man, this is something that I'm strongly considering hitting myself. I can't believe that this guy has gotten 2 wins in the UFC. This one, he did nothing, and he legitimately lost Cody Brundage. He legitimately won to Cody Brundage. That's absolutely crazy to me. So there, I am not high on Cedric Dumas at all. Denis Tiuliulin's probably going to get the win. Plus, if you want to take a look like, oh, well, I don't want to bet on a guy who keeps losing, take a look at the opponents that Denis Tiuliulin has been facing. Look at the guys that he's been losing to. They are pretty good fighters. They're pretty great fighters, actually. So I'm feeling good about Denis Tiuliulin. He's probably going to beat Cedric Dumas. Now, let's get into the next confident pick. The next confident pick I have for you guys is going to be Magomed Gaziasulov. Now, I almost didn't include this one of my confident picks because Magomed doesn't have that UFC experience, but in my opinion, guys, he has all the tools in the world to get the job done, especially against an opponent like Brandon Ribeiro, who comes forward. Sometimes that forward pressure can be used against him. This guy has fantastic calf kicks. He hits extremely hard, and I'm feeling pretty good about the picks here. And it's something to note if you want to talk about betting this card, guys. They're fighting in Abu Dhabi, and with the way the judges have been going lately, you would have to think that no matter what, if these fights go to decision with the new gloves, a lot of fights have been going to decision. You got to think that the judges would sign aside to somebody like Magomed Gaziasulov because, of course, they definitely want all of those guys to win over here. So I think that's something we need to take into consideration when talking about all these fights. Plus, I don't know, and I just think that this guy, like I said, he has all the tools in his arsenal to get the win over a guy like Brandon Ribeiro. They want him to win, and I think that he's here ready to get the win over at the UFC. But out of all the confident picks, that is my least confident pick. Now, let's move on to a fighter that I'm feeling really good about, that being Nasrat Haqparast. Guys, this guy has been on a quiet win streak, and he's been looking better every single time that we see him. Jared Gordon's somebody that I've never really been impressed with. 35 years old, almost 36 years old. Nasrat, I understand he has 2 losses recently against Bobby Green and Dan Hooker, and to be honest with you, I'd like to see him run it back with Dan Hooker one day, but that's 3 years ago. Since these 2 losses, he has went on to have amazing performances and looked better every single time. Now, the opponents, they could be better, but the opponents that he's been facing is kind of on the Jared Gordon level. This guy is showing up faster, more powerful every single time that we see him, and he's only 28 years old. He's only entering his prime. I have no reason to believe that he's going to continue to improve, and Jared Gordon is not a huge step up in competition, so I like Nasrat Haqparast a lot in this fight. Let's continue on to the... I'd be interested... I want to know what you guys think about this one down below, because I don't see a lot of people agreeing with me on this one. I think Muhammad Naimov is going to win. I think Muhammad Naimov... For me personally, I am riding the Naimov train until those wheels fall off. I've been impressed with this guy. He can do a little bit of everything. Hear me out, okay? Like, don't get me wrong. Melsik Bagdasaryan, is a great fighter, and he has all the tools to win. But Muhammad Naimov has shown that he can fight anywhere. He's tough. The judges will be siding with him in Saudi Arabia, and this guy isn't afraid to cheat. Now, I think that's a horrible thing, right? I don't think that fighters should come in and cheat, but this guy will come out and kick you in the nuts. He'll poke you in the eyes. If you want to take him down, he'll grab the fence. And because the refs have been so bad lately, they're not going to do anything about it. So that's actually something to take into consideration when breaking down these fights. Last I checked, Naimov was a slight underdog, but I'm feeling good about him to win, man. I think I'm going to ride these wheels until the train falls off, just like I said. So Naimov, I think, is going to win. But guys, let's move on to a couple underdog opportunities. It is important to note that with these underdogs, they are not necessarily picks of mine. These are just underdogs where it's like, hey, if this fight had an upset, that wouldn't shock me at all, okay? The first underdog opportunity I have for you guys is going to be Nicholas Dalby. He's taking on Renat Fakhretdinov, who we just saw had us a big cardio issue. Big cardio issue. This guy can fade. Now, what's Nicholas Dalby's main tool? Pace and cardio. So this fight could go one of two ways. Renat Fakhretdinov could come out and get a quick finish. He could dominate in the first round, kind of like we were expecting with a Khamzat Chimaev type fight. Or the fight can go 3 rounds, and Nicholas Dalby can really, really wear on Renat Fakhretdinov. Because Renat, in this last fight against Zaleski, it was kind of back and forth. You know, I don't want to say both guys were really fading, but Renat was really, really fading. If he starts to fade the way he did in this fight against Nicholas Dalby, that will be huge, huge issues for him. So it wouldn't shock me at all if Dalby ended up getting the win here. I've been back and forth with my pick for this one, but let's continue on to another underdog opportunity. Guys, Alexander Volkov. We got to think about Sergey Pavlovich coming back. I know 7 months ago is a pretty good time to recover from a KO, but you always have to wonder when somebody comes in after a knockout, is their chin going to be the same? And especially the knockout that he suffered, is his chin going to be the same? Is he going to be as aggressive? Is he going to be as careless? That, along with Alexander Volkov being on a really quiet win streak, I know that these opponents aren't the Sergey Pavlovich level, not even close, but Volkov has high fight IQ. He's very lengthy, which is shocking that he's at a reach disadvantage over here. My point being that he uses his range pretty well. He has high fight IQ in the cage. He can really change up his game plan in the middle of it, assuming that it doesn't end really quick. And I got a little bit of a gut feeling that he's going to win this one. If you guys are interested, my official pick is going to be Alexander Volkov. I'm not betting on this fight myself, but man, if Volkov gets the job done, wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me at all. Now, let's talk about some fights that I don't believe you should be betting on, and I'll tell you why for each fight. Now, we're going to start with one that I don't have much to say. It's Long Xiao versus Chang Ho Lee. 2 guys coming to the UFC from the road to the UFC, and I just don't... Both guys have looked pretty good, man. Both guys have looked pretty good, and I can see both guys getting the job done here. Both guys have shown that they are talented. They probably belong in the UFC, and I just don't think you should bet on this fight. That's all. It's just a pretty good contender fight. Let's continue on to the next bout. Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez is one that I believe you should be avoiding. Now, the reason being, just because of Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum, I officially have lost all faith in. This guy is not disciplined outside of the cage. We don't know if he's going to show up on weight. We don't know if he's going to show up and look like a world beater. He is so inconsistent, and you never know what you're getting with Kelvin Gastelum at this point in his career. Now, because of this, because Kelvin Gastelum showed up, looked so bad in his last fight, if he was fighting probably anybody else in the division, I'd be like, okay, well, the confident pick's going to be the other guy because of Kelvin Gastelum recently. But he's fighting Daniel Rodriguez, and I've always thought that Daniel Rodriguez, shocking to me that he's 17-4 because I don't think he's a good fighter. I just don't. So this fight, you have Kelvin Gastelum, who knows how he's going to show up, and he's taking on somebody who just isn't good. I avoid this one at all costs, man. I don't even like props. I don't care about it. I'm not touching this fight one little bit. Now, continuing on to another fight that I don't believe you should be betting on is going to be Johnny Walker versus Volkan Oezdemir. Long story short, guys, Johnny Walker, sometimes he decides to make the fights chaotic. If he does, it turns into a 50-50 fight. Plus, we can't trust Johnny Walker's chin. I will never bet on a Johnny Walker fight. Ever. Okay? For that reason, he makes some 50-50 sometimes. That's it for that one. Let's continue on to the last fight that I don't believe you guys should be betting on, and that is going to be Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov. This is tough, okay? This is tough because I'm picking Robert Whittaker to win this fight, okay? But you have to worry, and the day is coming for Robert Whittaker where he's falling out of his prime. It hasn't happened yet. He looked great in the Paulo Costa fight, but he's taken so much damage throughout his career. It's worrying to me. Plus, you have to think about how good is Ikram Aliskerov. He could be a top contender, and he has all the tools in his arsenal to do so. But the problem is, Ikram last week already did a weight cut. Did he finish it? No, but that's so taxing on the body. And typically, a guy with the last name of Aliskerov, I don't know what he walks around at. Okay, I don't. But typically, a guy with that last name will cut a lot of weight. So you got to think about it. He went through all last week cutting weight. Fight got canceled. Put it back on this week. He's going through the weight cut again. I know that's talking about like, hey, maybe we should pick Robert Whittaker for those reasons, but I'm just saying, can his body handle it? I don't know. Don't know what kind of Ikram Aliskerov is going to show up. I worry about the durability of Robert Whittaker moving forward with his career, so I'm personally no longer going to be betting on Robert Whittaker because I think the day is coming where he shows up looking like he did against Dricus du Plessis, but as of right now, seems to be a one-off, but still, I'm not going to bet on that fight myself. Now, guys, let's talk about Lock of the Week. The fighter on the card that I believe is as close to 100% of a pick that you can get is going to be Shara Bullet Magomedov. And I used the wrong scene for that. Sorry. Shara Bullet Magomedov. Now, I am not convinced this guy is going to be some world champion, okay? I'm not. but they took somebody in Joelton Lutterbach who is not in the UFC. Yeah, he has a lot of experience. He has a good skill set, mostly a striker. They took somebody outside of the UFC because they needed a short notice opponent, and Sharon Magomedov has at the very least proven that he has a very, very skilled Muay Thai game. He can survive off of his back. He's offensive off of his back if things go wrong. He has 0 takedown defense, but he's shown that this guy just has such violent intent in the octagon. I think that he's going to get it done against somebody without UFC experience. So I like Sharon Magomedov in this matchup in particular. I am likely, depending on what the odds are going to be, I haven't placed any of my bets for this card. I am likely going to be placing a bet on him, and I'm feeling good about him in this matchup. Plus, the UFC really, really wants him to win. Now, guys, before we move on to the more fun part of the video, I just want to take a second and pause the video because if you guys are interested, I know I talk a lot about betting on this channel. I talk a lot about betting. So if you're interested in either supporting the channel or seeing where I put my money where my mouth is, or if you want to combine my knowledge of MMA along with your own research, you can check out the channel membership, which is very cheap compared to other channels. You can find it next to the subscribe button in the pinned comment description down below. Every single Thursday or Friday, I'll be posting a community members post along with a members only video explaining everything that I will be betting on, not just UFC. I bet on other organizations as well. I'm going to be talking about confidence levels, underdogs that I like hey, like for example, hey, I'm just taking a stab at this underdog, never blindly tail, that kind of things. But I'm also talking about, hey, I'm feeling really good about this bet. So if you're interested in seeing where I'm actually putting my money where my mouth is every Thursday or Friday before the event, those will be up. Check out the channel membership. Also, guys, if you want to sign up to OddsJam, which is a fantastic tool, especially if you have multiple sports books, you can check my link in the pinned comment description down below. You can click on that, use code Clenbat. If you want to sign up to OddsJam, you can get a discount there, guys. Thank you very, very much for listening. Let's get into the fun part of the video now, which is just looking for some props, because as of right now, and I'm using the wrong thing again. Sorry, guys. Have all my tabs open here. Excuse me for a second. I still need to get used to the switching scenes over here. Now, just taking this is the one fun part of the video, guys, because I'm recording this before actually the last event. And typically, you have only some round lines over here. So, Aliskerov versus Robert Whittaker. Over 2.5 is interesting at almost pick 'em odds. But Daniel Rodriguez, Kelvin Gastelum, never going to touch that. I don't see a lot that I really like right now. Like Nasrat Hakparas and Jared Gordon, I'm not even confident in that because Nasrat can show up and get a finish over here. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not really feeling good about any of these props I'm seeing. What's interesting is what's covering me over here, the webcam. Okay, Magomed Gadziasula versus Brendan Ribeiro is plus money for over 1.5. I actually don't mind that. I don't mind that. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily hit anything, but I don't know, man. I don't know. The odds aren't typically pretty good over here, and we don't... Do we have any... Oh, do we not have any female fights on this card? Wow. I didn't even think about that, because typically for the women's fights, I'll hit over 1.5 and parlay a couple of those together, but wow, how long has it been since we haven't had a card without any female fights? Very, very interesting. Okay. So that's something... I'll probably not even going to hit any props this card. The odds aren't good. Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. You get real good plus money for over 1.5. I wouldn't touch that either. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling too good about that. Johnny Walker's minus money for over 1.5. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Yeah, definitely not hitting any of those props for me personally. All right, guys, let's move on to the more fun part of the video, and this is where we make some ridiculous fun parlays. Let's see what we can make over here, and because, of course, the only issue is Betway hasn't uploaded, and this is why I keep talking about, man, I don't know why I actually don't pull the trigger. I keep wanting to switch sportsbooks because I'm recording this video. It's been a couple days now, and Abu Zaitar is still on here. So let's see what we can make for some ridiculous parlays. Let's pick Robert Whittaker, Alexander Volkov, Volkan Oezdemir, Sharyl Magomedov, Muhammad Naimov, Kelvin Gastelum, Chang Ho Lee, Renat Fakhretdinov, Nasrat Hakparas, Magomed Gadziasulov, Muin Gafarov, and you know what, Dennis Tululind. You call all these fights right. Just even $5 will get you over $2,000. That's crazy. That's crazy. So let's see what we can actually make. Like, let's put some confident picks over here. Let's see what they can all get. Excuse me while I can't unclick anything over there. So let's pick like Sharyl Magomedov, Muhammad Naimov, Nasrat Hakparas. If you want to put all of those together, that's about 4 times your money. I actually don't mind that too much, but I would imagine that Dennis Tululind's going to show up as a bigger favorite over here, which I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to play that. We'll have to see what the odds turn out to be over here. But if you want to take in the underdog opportunities, you want to take Alexander Volkov and Nicholas Dalby together, that's almost 7 times your money, which is crazy. But it's too bad we can't parlay the round lines, guys, because yeah, there's a lot of fights that I don't really trust over here. I can't believe that Kelvin Gastelum's a favorite, man. That's crazy. How bad do you have to be in Daniel Rodriguez to be an underdog? And I don't mean to be disrespectful towards Kelvin Gastelum because he's one of my favorite fighters. It's just sad the way he shows up. Muhammad Naimov's sitting at an underdog right now. But yeah, even if I want to put like Sharyl Magomedov and Nasrat together, I actually don't mind that. That's over 2 times your money, just over. So that's something that I might consider hitting myself. But I don't know, man. I like to play it as safe as possible, so I sometimes end up just hitting the money line. But there's not too much we can do right now. Regardless, guys, let me know what you think about all of the picks down below. If there's anything that you're betting on, let me know in the comment section. I would love to know your reasonings if you disagree with me or anything like that. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you guys are interested, check out the full card breakdown I did right here where we dive so much deeper into all these fights. I will see you over there, guys. Take care.